Namo Om Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Sunya Bhari Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, let's start again by perhaps putting you on the spot. Well, there's not many of you. 4 of us here, 5 including me. So what verse did we leave off on yesterday? What was the subject of it?
Verse 3.
Yeah, what's the general subject of it? Was it 3 or was it 4?
3. It's 4.
Really? We just did 3 yesterday. I thought we did 4 as well.
No.
Really?
Yeah, 4 it's today.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to do, wasn't 5 minutes left or something like that.
Okay. All right, I take your word for it. I was just all right, so then
because I read it last night myself. I read 4. And I remember I looked again on verse 3.
Okay, so then verse 3 then was about, so that means we just did 1 verse yesterday, yeah? After, because we did a lion's glance, we just glanced back at verse 2, wasn't it? And we highlighted Sanskrit term. So then verse 3 was, those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me or conquer of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So what was the link? What's the link?
We have already read 9:4.
Yeah, thank you, Lord. I was quite convinced of that as well.
Yes, Mataji, I forgot her name. She read this purpose.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's right. 9:4. I think if I look on the recording as well, we're reading from 9:4.
We're reading now 4.
Now we're reading 5 because we read 4 yesterday.
Is it? Because we were talking about 3 types of devotees.
Yeah, but that was but then we finished that and then we moved on to text 4 and we read through it. And there wasn't so much discussion on that. That might be why you perhaps might not remember it, because we kind of scanned through it a little bit quickly. Yeah. So I'm just asking, with there was a specific question, a hypothetical question, that after hearing about the glories of devotional service, then a specific question was raised. Anyone remember that question?
Okay.
By hearing Raja Vijaya Guyam, there was a question. It's the hypothetical question to link verse 4 to verse 3.
Devotional service. Only through devotional service we can.
Yeah. So I'm getting, because soon we're teaching practice. Sorry, Mavuluda, say again. Yeah, that's the subject of verse 4. Yeah, and 5. But specifically it was, but I'm just the link from, sorry, perhaps I'm confusing things here. The link from 2 to 3 is having heard about the glories of devotion.
And still not having faith.
Yeah, why doesn't everyone take to it? And
because they don't have faith, and faith you obtain it only through devotees.
Yeah,
without
and
from devotees, we cannot progress in our spiritual life, and we will fall down. So there are 3 types
basically. Yeah, because people don't have faith in what has been spoken of in verse 2. So therefore, they may take to, they even may take, Prabhupada says in that lengthy purple, to the practice of devotion. But because of lack of faith, they may give it up at some point, or they may get what they acquire, some material necessities, and then they will discontinue their devotional practice because of lack of faith for the ultimate goal. So now going into 4 and 5, which 4 we read yesterday. So now Krishna's calling his attention, having explained the glories of devotional service. He's now going to explain how he pervades everything. As Mother Luther correctly said, how he pervades everything. And that was text 4, and they come together. Text 4 and 5 come together. So we're going to go into text 5, and I'll share the Bhagavad Gita with you. No, wrong button. Summary. Share screen. So sorry, I'm getting a bit in back to Sastri teaching mode at the moment, because we got back to Sastri coming up here every Sunday. If anyone wants to join, we're hoping to start next month back to Sastri, and we're teaching Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Isha Upanishad, Nectar of Devotion. So those who are interested.
I would love to come, but it's not. It's
yeah.
If it's online, I would love to.
Yeah, we're trying to come offline at least for that one class. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's start reading Krishna's wonderful Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So Mother Mongo enthusiastically has his hand up, so you can read text 5.
Time I will first. I will jump out. Do not read first. So text 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Nachamat shani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram bhutabri nacha bhutashto mamatma bhuto bhuta avanaha. Translation. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Purport. The Lord says that everything is resting on him. Mat shani sarva bhutani. This should not be misunderstood. The Lord is not directly concerned with the maintenance and sustenance of this material manifestation. Sometimes we see a picture of Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders. He seems to be very tired, holding this great earthly planet. Such an image should not be entertained in connection with Krishna's upholding this created universe. He says that although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. The planetary system are floating in space, and this space is the energy of the Supreme Lord. But he is different from that space. But he is different from space. He's differently situated. Therefore, the Lord says, although they are situated on my inconceivable energy as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am aloof from them. This is the inconceivable opulence of the Lord. In the Nirukti Vedic dictionary, it is says, Yujyate nenadur pateshu karyeshu. The Supreme Lord is performing inconceivably wonderful pastimes, displaying his energy. His person is full of different potent energies, and his determination is itself actual fact. In this way, the personality of Godhead is to be understood. We may think of doing something, but there are so many impediments, and sometimes it is not possible to do as we like. But when Krishna wants to do something simply by his willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it is being done. The Lord explained this fact. Although he is a maintainer and sustainer of the external material manifestation, he does not touch this material manifestation. Simply by his pure will, everything is created, everything is sustained, everything is maintained, and everything is annihilated. There is no difference between his mind and himself, as there is a difference between ourselves and our present material mind. Because he is absolute spirit, simultaneously the Lord is present in everything, yet the common man cannot understand how he is also present personally. He's different from this material manifestation, yet everything is resting on him. This is explained here as a yogam aishwaram, the mystic power of the Supreme Personality of God.
Godhead. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So any confusions? This
I
is
wanted to just say, like, yeah, yesterday, we were discussing not the
Yeah.
second or something verse, second or third verse.
third verse. Yeah, these two verses come together. Yeah.
Yeah, how you were connecting little paragraph sentences with different books, like Nectar of Devotion, this and that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, when you're reading this sentence by sentence, you tend to, going with the flow, you tend to kind of understand. But when you was connecting with other books, or this is from Nectar of Devotion, this is from,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got lost. I found it like, I was so tired anyway yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Something like that.
today I was like really concentrating, and sentence by sentence, you understand. Krishna himself doesn't do anything. His energies, his expansions do everything. Annihilation, maintenance, everything is done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to point.
So it's like a microcosmos and microcosmos, yeah. So Krishna is the big. It's a person, and from him all the effulgence comes out, and in that effulgence, it's all the universes are inside that. But in the same time, a particle from that is also inside ourselves, which is not different from him, but is different from him.
Yeah. So that's why it's known as inconceivable. It's an apparent contradiction, which has
Like
been
an atom.
explained here. Yeah, because the Lord said that everything that is created does not rest in me. Like in the last verse, he said, those are not by me, my unmanifested form. This entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And in this verse, he says, so, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. So,
Like the sun, like the light from the sun.
yeah, and there's examples that we can give, but basically, I was reading earlier. Yeah. So Krishna can make the impossible possible through his inconceivable potency. So I just have to.
I muted.
He did, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that which seems impossible can become possible by Krishna's inconceivable potency. Yeah. He can be situated everywhere, and everything can be situated within him, but still he is separate. How that is so, there will be an example given in the next verse to help us understand, to try and help us to understand. But Prabhupada speaks about it here when he's speaking about his energies. So his energies are situated everywhere, but his personal form remains untouched and completely transcendental. So by his Shava Shankalpa, just by his will, everything is perfectly coordinated within this material cosmic manifestation.
Wow.
That's why Prabhupada gives the example of Atlas. It's not as if Krishna is running around all over creation, trying to keep it spinning. Do you know, you've seen that? You've seen that thing of spinning plates?
Yes.
They have a stick, and they spin a plate on the stick. And as it's going round, they go to another plate and another one. And they try and spin all the plates and keep them spinning before the first one falls off. So that's why Prabhupada's invoking this example of Atlas, that we shouldn't have that type of image of Krishna who's stressed and strained trying to maintain everything. Like we may be stressed and strained trying to maintain our basic field, a basic situation that we live. And Krishna's maintaining the whole of the cosmic manifestation. But he's doing it simply through his Shava Sankalpa. Just because he wills it. Then everything, there's a nice sentence here. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Where was it? Just say to note it down. Yeah. So,
Incredible just to imagine.
yeah.
Imagine his transcendental
Here.
force.
What is this divine supernatural power? So what is this divine supernatural power, which is so mysterious that it controls, organizes, and directs all of creation with natural perfection? And in the last verse, who's mentioned, let's see, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That here, there's Vishtaptyam idam shavam. The Prabhupada quoted a verse that Krishna explains later on: with a single fragment of myself, I pervade the whole cosmic manifestation with a single fragment of myself. So everything is going on by Krishna, but at the same time, he is not part of the creation. But it's going on through his Shaktis, through his Shava Sankalpa. I think, is it proper good example here, or something good example of a king who's maintaining his kingdom?
Yeah.
But he's not personally running around all the different states. He's empowering representatives. I think Prabhupada said that's a crude example. So it's Krishna's just his desire, which the whole of creation is being, all the orbits of the planets, the setting and rising of the sun, the moons, and the stars, and all the hundreds of planets and creation and annihilation by Lord Shiva. For that to happen, there has to be potency, and that potency is Krishna's potency.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's the point. Yeah. So therefore, that's why Krishna says here, "Behold my mystic opulence." So in other words, they have to fold their hands and understand that Krishna, that the impossible can become possible by Krishna's inconceivable Shakti.
Such a little boy.
Yeah, such all coming from, and there's this the pastime of Brahma Vimohan Leela. It really illustrates Krishna's superior power and mystic potency in comparison even to the greatest demigod. And that's a wonderful story. Yeah, all these thousands of Vishnu forms manifest from Krishna. Then they go back into Krishna, and Krishna's sitting there smiling with the yogurt in his hand. So the whole cosmic manifestation. I remember before I joined, I was watching some program by Charlton Heston called The Mysteries of the Universe. He was entertaining different philosophies, and then he was speaking about the Vedic scriptures, actually, and the Vedic scriptures' description of creation. And at some point in the presentation, he's speaking about the time reference for creation from the Vedic point of view, which is fantastic. Millions and millions of years. It makes up millions of years here makes up billions of years in the higher planets, and then all these billions of kalpas and creations, they are coming from just one breath of Vishnu when he breathes out. Then all of And in that one breath that comes out, there's billions of creations going in billions of kalpas, millions of brahmas in just one breath. And then when he breathes in, then everything gets annihilated. And then he says, and then amazingly, in all these descriptions of this fantastic time scale, this little boy comes along called Krishna, because he doesn't really understand Krishna, but he says all in a way, and then all of a sudden you get this young boy, this young cowherd boy, Krishna, who's called Krishna, and it indicates that this whole thing is coming from him and this little boy playing with cows. He doesn't. I just remember that I was watching that, and he couldn't put the two together. He couldn't. For him, it's just mythology. It was just like, oh, this is what they say, and then having said all this, it all comes from this boy playing with cows. So,
Wow.
yeah. So that's why there's prayers also that explain that some may worship the Brahmins, some may worship the super souls, some may study the Vedas. But as far as I'm concerned, I just worship Mother Yasoda, in whose courtyard the Supreme Lord is playing. And then we have examples, isn't it, of Mother Yasoda seeing within Krishna's mouth all the universes. Yeah. And she becomes struck with awe, and then she begins to get quite philosophical. Who am I? Who is my son? What is this? What is this material world? We're all in illusion. And then he covered her again by his potencies, and she became full of affection and love for a beautiful little boy, and forgot about that display of awe and reverence. So anyway, yeah. Anything else we can bring out from here? We all know Atlas, yeah? He's standing like that with a globe. He's seen Mr. Globe.
There are lots of buildings in London. Lots of buildings in London. When you walk, you can see a big person holding the earth like this.
So we shouldn't entertain that in regards to Krishna, actually into Krishna. Shava Shankalpa. Yeah. Yeah, see, I took a few notes here. There's some interesting things he says here, see my supernatural power, my extraordinary skill in doing what cannot be done. Yeah, that's Krishna. He can do something that cannot be done. And see also something else which is astonishing. Even though I am the maintainer of all living beings in the universe and protector of them all, I, my spiritual body, am not situated in them. So in his spiritual body, Mamatma. So he's situated in a different way through his Shaktis. A divine mystery making the impossible possible. Yeah. So a divine mystery, that I was quite attracted to that divine mystery making the impossible possible. I think it's described like that as well, as that in order to understand the science of God, then we have to understand that we can't understand. We have to understand that it's inconceivable to our paltry little brains,
That's what I was going to say. He says it's inconceivable, so you just accept it. Don't even
it's easier to accept it. Yeah.
Yeah, just accept. Krishna is just playing but its expansions are doing things.
And someone can tell us there's a nice play which this is illustrated very nicely that devotees do. Anyone can say what that play is. Illustrates it illustrates a devotee who simply accepts the wonderful potency of the Lord.
Cobbler and the Brahmin.
Yeah, the cobbler and the Brahmin. Hare Krishna, Kishore. Welcome back. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Can you
Krishna.
tell us,
Thank you.
Yeah, could you give a little overview of that story for us?
Well, Narad Muni was going to heaven, to Vaikuntha Lok,
Yeah.
and Brahmin came. He met a Brahmin. The Brahmin said, "Can you look up for me, see how much time I have before I go to Vaikuntha Lok? Can you ask Lord Vishnu?"
Yeah.
And Narad said, "Okay." And then he met Narad Muni met a cobbler, and cobbler also asked him, "Can you see? Can you ask Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, how much time will it be before I come to Vaikuntha Lok?"
Mm.
And then when Narad Muni met Lord Vishnu said that the Brahmin is going to take lifetime after lifetimes, and cobbler is coming straight away. So he was asked, and if they ask you why, tell him that in Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu was putting an elephant through an eye of a
Yeah.
needle.
Just to interject here, then I think he was so like they might challenge him, they might challenge Narada to prove that he actually went to Vaikuntha, the Brahmin. So he said, if the Brahmin asks what I was doing, then I was doing this. So carry on, Mother Kishore. Yeah.
So when the Brahmin came, when Narad Muni came back, the Brahmin asked him, "How long?" And Narad Muni said, "Well, the Lord Vishnu said that you'll be taking lifetime after lifetime. You won't be coming soon." And the Brahmin said, "How do you know? What was Vishnu doing when you asked him that?" And he said, "The Lord Vishnu was putting an elephant through an eye of a needle."
It's threading an elephant through the eye of a needle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brahmin didn't believe him. He thought, "No, this is fake." Straight away, then later on, when he met the cobbler, and cobbler was told the same story, the cobbler began to dance. He said, "My Lord, he can do anything. He can put an elephant through an eye of a needle. He is quite capable of doing anything and everything."
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
inconceivable nature.
Yeah, and he took a seed. He said that, "My Lord, you see this banyan." Sometimes plays they do it quite dramatically. You see this banyan tree? It comes from a little seed. Inside that seed, a whole banyan tree. So my Lord, he's threading an elephant from the eye of a needle. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya. That's a play at the manor. They do like that. Yeah, the play they do it in different ways. There's one humorous play, so I won't get too sidetracked on this story, where the Brahmin, I think Padavijaya was played. He's a wonderful actor. He does wonderful plays, and he was playing the Brahmin. He was saying to Nod, "Can you ask Vishnu when I will get moksha? Perhaps it will be on my birthday. That would be really nice. Yes, that's when I will get moksha, on my next birthday." Because he's a Brahmin doing all these prayers and things like that. Anyway, so yeah, wonderful story. So sometimes being simple hearted is more conducive for devotion, often, than being over intellectual. So, we being over intellectual to the point of, because you can't conceive of something, then you reject it. And that's basically atheists, isn't it? Our atheist frame of mind, because you cannot conceive, then you just reject. But
There's another story. Can
go
I
on,
jump in?
yes,
There
go
was
on.
this devotee who got initiated, and he was an analphabet. He didn't know how to read. And then some devotee saw him reading Bhagavad Gita, and they went to him and they asked him, "Why are you reading Bhagavad Gita? Because you don't know how to read." He said, "But my guru instructed me." So every day was turning.
That's actually Lord Chaitanya in the South India. There's one Brahmin. Now, Brahmin means you're a Brahmin, which means you're educated in Sanskrit, etc. But this particular Brahmin couldn't read. Now, the other Brahmins are all great scholars, and they all know he can't read. So he's a bit of a laughing stock for the community of Brahmins. But he's reading Bhagavad Gita. So they're all kind of cutting jokes and on his behalf. So then Lord Chaitanya comes and he sees this Brahmin looks to be in great ecstasy of appreciation. So then he asks him, what's he doing? So I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, although I can't read because my Guru Maharaj told me to read it. So that's the story. So yeah, it's a good point. He's just following quite simply the orders of his spiritual master. So don't worry what atheists like, even though we may not be able to explain sometimes how the Lord in all scientifically, or we might not be able to show in detail how the whole of creation manifests from Krishna according to their, requirements. We're just like the cobbler, we just accept it because we have faith. Although we do have good explanations as well. We can provide scientific explanation of creation based on the Bhagavatam. That and that we can do. But they don't accept that. They might not accept Bhagavatam. Anyway, we get the point here. So
I think being also too learned, it can be a danger for your spiritual life sometimes because you can speculate too much.
yeah, well, it's good to be learned. One of the symptoms of an advanced devotee is that they have a deep knowledge of scripture. Yeah. So we don't want to be, but we don't want to speculate. Yeah, is it we should? Yeah. All right. Should we have a look at text 6? Yeah. So now an example is going to be given to help us to understand. What is inconceivable. And this comes up, Vishwanath Chakravarti brings up a point here, which is interesting. So let's look at 9.6. All right. Anyone dying to say something more about anything here in 9.5?
I just, that one word you said, faith. When you have faith in Krishna.
Yeah, you can accept. You simply have.
Whatever. The
Yeah.
Shastra.
There's I always appreciate it when, for instance, in India or even in a temple here in London, you see quite simple people coming and they bow down with great awe and reverence and they got their hands folded and they're looking at the Lord, just like it described, looking at the Lord like a man who's dying, look at a picture of the Lord. They come before the Lord and they're simple people in one sense, but because they got faith, they accept. Now it's inconceivable to an atheist, they find it troublesome. I remember, sorry, going off the track a little bit, but there was one well-known atheist, Richard Dawkins. I don't like to invoke his name even, but he's a loudmouth atheist, excuse me, from England, Cambridge. And he gives presentations and tries to convince people to become atheists. And he was having this program where he makes a mockery of religious people and their beliefs, very unpleasant person. And he goes to Lourdes. Do you know Lourdes? It's in France. It's a Catholic place of pilgrimage where many hundreds of years ago, Mary appeared as the whole thing and people get healed in bathing in the waters there. Miracles happened in it like that. So, all the Catholics go there. Hundreds of thousands of them go, and they go, and then he was there with his microphone trying to interview them and trying to, it showed him to be such a kind of, we're going to say, what's the word? Such a such a pathetic, using his limited intellect to try and understand the potencies of God. Anyway, you get the idea. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's go to 9.6. Okay, let's have someone read this one as well. Rajkishore, I'll ask you to read. You can read. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Yatha kastito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani upadharaya. Translation. Understand that the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky. All created beings rest in me. Purport. For the ordinary person, it is almost inconceivable how the huge material creation is resting in him. But the Lord is giving an example which may help us to understand. The sky may be the biggest manifestation we can conceive. And in that sky, the wind or air is the biggest manifestation in the cosmic world. The movement of the air influences the movements of everything. But although the wind is great, it is still situated within the sky. The wind is not beyond the sky. Similarly, all the wonderful cosmic manifestations are existing by the supreme will of God, and all of them are subordinate to that supreme will. As we generally say, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, everything is moving under his will. By his will, everything is being created, everything is being maintained, and everything is being annihilated. Still, he is aloof from everything, as the sky is always aloof from the activities of the wind.
You okay?
In the Upanishads, it is stated, Yad Bhisha Vata Pavate. It is out of fear of the Supreme Lord that the wind is blowing. Taittiriya Upanishad 281. In the Brihat Aranyak Upanishad 389, it is stated, Etasya va akarshyasya prasanane gargi surya chandraman manso vidratau tistha etasya va akastrasya prasanane gargi divya parvati vidratu tistata. By the supreme order, under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the moon, the sun, and other great planets are moving. In the Brahma Samhita, Yat Chakshure Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasyagna Brahmati Sambrit Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is a description of the movement of the sun. It is said that the sun is considered to be one of the eyes of the Supreme Lord, and that it has immense potency to diffuse heat and light. Still, it is moving in its prescribed orbit by the order and the supreme will of Govinda. So from the Vedic literature, we can find evidence that this material manifestation, which appears to us to be very wonderful and great, is under the complete control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This will be further explained in the later verses of this chapter. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So it's quite intriguing, this, because here's an example that's given, but often I read this verse in purport and I can't understand the example that's given to to explain it. But here, just to help us perhaps try and understand what's being explained here, I guess one sense is straightforward. Got the mighty wind blowing everywhere, rests in the sky. So all created beings rest in me. So here, Krishna, here, the sky is like an upside down bowl, okay? It contains the wind, which is moving around in that bowl, yeah? All creating beings rest in me. Just to the sky, that sky which the wind is moving remains detached from that moving wind. You follow? So the sky blows freely and independently, the sky restricts only the area of movement, not the movement itself. Krishna thus limits the activities of the conditioned living entities, regardless of the extent of their power, to the circumference of the material world. Did that make sense? Speaking about free will, you could say. Someone asked me a question today during the lunch program about free will. So that's what's being described here, but that free will is not like Krishna's free will, which he's completely independent. So we do have free will. Like you chose to tune in at 6 o'clock here. Yeah. So how many people with us today? Let's have a look.
9.
9. Yeah. So most people, there's a lot of people didn't. They have, because they used their free will in another, my circumstances mean they couldn't join, So we do have free will. And that's what makes life, actually, isn't it? That's what makes the interaction between one jivana and another as some substance of rasa, because you both are different persons. Yeah, you have free will to how you exchange and how you react in this world. So in that sense, everyone's using their free will, but it's all going on within the creation of the Lord. But there's only so far that we can go with that free will. An example of that is on a plane. You have free will to move on a plane. Yeah. Well, sometimes you don't, but you have free will. You can go to the toilet at the front of the plane, or you can wait and go to the back of the plane. Depends where you're sitting. Yeah. You can put your chair back. You can eat a Jain meal, or you can eat a vegetarian meal, or you can eat your own sandwiches. So you got free will, but you cannot get off the plane because your free will's limited. So we got free will, and we move within the universe like the sky moves within the, like the wind moves within the bowl of the sky. But so in that sense, all created beings rest in Krishna. Am I making sense here?
But I don't know if this rest in Krishna, if it's maybe the right word. I think rest, it's quite limited, because people can think about different things when it says rest.
Yeah, I guess it's used in different contexts, that they are all beings are actually, they all reside within the universal body of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just want to look myself. So how is this verse then? How is this example proving the point in the last verse saying, and yet everything that's created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence, as I'm the maintainer of all living entities, although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation, for my very self is the source of creation. Yeah, so I think it's given an example of the Lord's detachment and being above that which is going on within the creation. Understand it as a mighty wind blowing everywhere, rests always in the sky. All created beings rest in me. Anyway, any questions or comments here?
So the wind is born in the sky and just falls from the sky and lives also around us.
I know it's born from the sky, but it moves within the jurisdiction of the sky. Yeah. So we move within a jurisdiction of the Lord's creation, but he is also above all of that, and he is unaffected. All right. All right. Let's so now text 7, just it's going to be text 7 is gonna. Yeah, there's more I could read about text 6, but it's a bit detailed. So now Krishna's going to explain about. Now he's explained about his omnipotency and how he's situated everywhere and how everything's manifested within him, but at the same time he is aloof. Now he's going to speak about creation and destruction. Yeah, how things come into being, and how he's going to how everything is destroyed. Okay, so that's the subject now coming up. You know, yeah. So, someone like to read text 7?
Yep, I can read.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mahalo.
Thank you. I'm going to switch off my video because I think my internet is not great. Sarva Bhutani Kunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpasaye Punastani Kalpado Vrishjamiham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. At the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years, and his one day is calculated at 4,300,000,000 of our earthly years. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. Then again, when there is a need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Bahusham. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism, Chandogya Upanishad 623. He expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place.
Yeah. And there's Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he often does this in the Bhagavad Gita. He creates a conversation within a conversation. So there's a question that's being asked here. It says, but having heard the previous verse, but how can you create if you are detached? Yeah. How can you create if you are detached and are unchangeable by your nature? How do you create? And then Krishna then speaks this verse. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, then they are manifest again. Yeah. O son of Kunti, by my potency, I create them again. By my potency, by his, what's the word? Potency here. Prakritim, you could say. Yeah. All right. Any
So anything every time when the new creation begins, is it anything more is evolving, or it's a same identical blueprint, let's say, of creation?
it's interesting because if you study Srimad Bhagavatam, the basic principles are the same, but Bhagavatam gives different descriptions of creation, and sometimes there is some differences, some small differences, but the basic principle is the same. There's from subtle to a gross, the elements are manifested, etc. But there are in some millenniums, it may be done in a slightly different way. So the Acharyas mentioned that about creation. If that was your question,
Different planets, they become more, let's say, the more higher you go, the more complex they will become.
Oh, the more great they will become, the more expansive they are. Yeah, just like our Lord Brahma has 4 heads, but other universes which are larger, then the Brahma might have 100 heads, or inconceivably 1,000,000 heads. That's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Is
According
that
to
sorry, I jumped in. So sorry, is that because the universe where that Brahma it is so big that he needs to cover so much area, or is because
basically that's how it's presented. That's how it's presented, because the story here is that Lord Brahma here, he went to go and see Krishna, and he was asked to wait outside. Some of us know this story. And then the doorkeepers came, and they reported, and they asked Lord Brahma, that the Lord said, which Lord Brahma are you? As far as Brahma is concerned, there is no one beside him, because he has created creation. He's created creation. There is nothing outside of that. He is manifest creation. So what's this other? What do you mean another Brahma? There's only one Brahma. And then as the story goes, then Krishna called all the hundreds of millions and different Lord Brahmas from all over the different universes, of which this one is a mustard seed. There's billions of universes. So all the different Lord Brahmas come. And that's where it's described that Lord Brahmas had 10 heads, 1,000,000 heads, and I think even 1,000,000,000 heads. What that looks like, how that works, I've got no idea. Even an artist to try and paint a picture of 100 or 1,000,000 heads on one torso. So anyway, like that. Okay. So Bahusham. Anything from here? Bahusham. So again, this is coming up. Krishna's Shava Sankalpa, by his will. And then again, when there is need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Bahusham. Shava Sankalpa. So I am one, I shall become many. So he expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation takes place. So it's quite exciting, actually, the cosmic manifestation. Understanding this, that we are within this cosmic manifestation, and it's all coming from Krishna, and it's all created by Krishna. So in that sense, with that knowledge, it's quite an exciting place to be, from that sense. But from another sense, it's the material world. Yeah, so we want to get to the spiritual world. But still, we should appreciate the wonder of Krishna's creation. We should appreciate the artist behind this creation. Yeah?
So in one sense, we are more fortunate than demigods.
Well,
Because
sorry, carry on.
Demigods are using their pious activities, or the people in heavenly planets, they are using their pious activities, they enjoy them, their punya. But us, we are here, we can serve directly the Lord in a way.
Well, the demigods are also devotees, and they're in the heavenly planets, and for them, what they're doing is not is not sinful, because in the heavenly planets there's different. It's a different arrangement. Yeah, here we're bound very strictly to follow specific dharma, but in the heavens we won't go into detail. But there's no sinful reaction for sex life, for instance. Yeah, but the problem there is they become so enamored that they forget they forget the meaning, or they forget and become covered and do not endeavor to reach the spiritual world. So they often pray to come to the material world. So the demigods are doing what demigods do, but that's all temporary. And so although they don't get sinful reactions, their piety becomes exhausted, and they return, you got it, they return to the material worlds again. So they're subject to death. Yeah, so, and also it's part of the material world. So sometimes they get cursed. Yeah, sometimes demons ransack the heavenly planets, and all the demigods have to hide and flee. That's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So they're suffering there as well. Like that. All right. Anything else from here? Otherwise, we can pause there for today. It's 6:59. And next week, then we can begin with text 8. Okay. All right. So let's pause there then. Meditate on the Lord's inconceivable potency. So try to do that when you're going about your day and going about what you have to do, shopping and this and that. Just stop and try and appreciate creation and everything that's happening, and try and see Krishna in it. Yeah. Next time, just try and appreciate Krishna. Next time when you're seeing people, try and appreciate that Krishna's within everyone's heart, and he's directing the wandering. So everyone is being inspired to move, to fulfill their desires through the potency and the direction of Krishna. So try to do that. It's some homework. Some of you might be doing that already. Yeah. But that's what, as devotees, we should always be doing, trying to see Krishna in this world, trying to appreciate the wonder of his creation. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for getting together for this Bhagavad Gita reading. And we're gradually making our way through. Before we know it, we'll be on chapter 18. We just keep on having these classes 2 days a week. It will soon pass. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And please join us if you can for next Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, for Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaura Gaura Premanande Hari Bo. Hari Krishna. Hari Krishna.